This is another video produced by You Do The Maths to have a look at some of the laws and umpiring skills in Australian football. Please assist us to help you by subscribing to our YouTube channel. So what is holding the ball in Australian football? Well, the aim of the game is to score more points than your opponent, and you do that by taking possession of the ball and kicking it through the goals or the two vertical sticks at your end of the ground. For the opponent to take the possession of the ball from you, what they can do is intercept a disposal, in other words, you kicking or handballing the ball to your own teammate, or they can also tackle you. A correctly applied tackle may then give them possession of the ball, or it may cause the ball to fall free, in which case either team now has the opportunity to take possession of the ball again. When a tackle occurs, there are several things that the umpire must consider. They must first of all consider if the tackle has been applied correctly. If the tackle has been applied correctly, they must consider if the player in possession has had a prior opportunity to dispose of the ball before the tackle. The umpire must also consider if the player being tackled dived on the ball or dragged the ball into their body prior to the tackle occurring. To correctly execute a tackle, one aspect of that tackle is it must be executed below the shoulders of a player. Any contact of the tackle on the shoulders or above is deemed to be too high, and a free kick will be awarded to the player being tackled. In the event that a player being tackled ducks their head into the person executing the tackle, the umpire is able to call play on and disregard the high contact. Any contact below the knee in the tackle will be deemed a trip, and the player being tackled will also be awarded a free kick. Dangerous tackles are to be penalised. A dangerous tackle is one where a player being tackled is at the risk of injury. This could occur when their arms are pinned and they're unable to protect themselves when they hit the ground, or the tackle is executed in an aggressive manner, such as in a sling tackle, again which prevents the player being tackled from protecting themselves. Let's have a look at a situation now where there is some uncertainty. Has the player been tackled correctly, or is it a dangerous tackle or push in the back? In the first instance, we can see the player with possession of the ball is about to dispose of it and jumps and moves forward as they do so. The tackler executes the tackle correctly below the shoulders and above the knees, and as the player falls to the ground, they have their hands free to protect themselves. This is a borderline case, and the momentum of the player with the ball may encourage some umpires to award push in the back. In this instance, the umpire allowed the game to continue. Once the umpire is satisfied that a legal tackle has been executed, they must now consider the next thing, which is, has the player who has been tackled had a prior opportunity to dispose of the ball? If the umpire feels that the player has had a fair chance to handball or kick the ball, then the answer to that question is yes, and in that case, the player must dispose of the ball correctly once tackled. Let's have a look at some vision now, where the question of whether or not prior opportunity is occurring is questionable, and the umpire has to make a tight call. In this first piece of footage, a player in black and white takes possession of the ball now and raises their hand prior to the tackle. The umpire deems the raising of the hands an opportunity to dispose of the ball by hand or by foot. The tackle is executed legally, and the player does not dispose of the ball once tackled. In this case, it's deemed to be holding the ball. In this next clip, a player in yellow takes possession of the ball from a ruck tap. Prior to being tackled, they turn into the tackler. The tackle is executed correctly. They do not dispose of the ball immediately, and it's deemed holding the ball. We can see that the umpire is deemed prior opportunity because as the player comes into the tackle, they actually take the tackler on and they turn. There is an opportunity, albeit brief, to dispose of the ball prior to the tackle. So because it's deemed prior opportunity and no disposal occurs immediately, it's deemed holding the ball. So let's have a look at the same question. Has the player had a prior opportunity to dispose of the ball? What if the answer is no, they haven't had time to actually kick or handball it? Can the tackler be rewarded? The umpire can reward the tackler if the player being tackled elects to incorrectly dispose of the ball. Now that could mean that they throw the ball or just drop it, or what they could also do is place the ball on the ground. All of those methods are incorrect disposal. The umpire can also reward the tackler if they believe that the player being tackled is able to dispose of the ball, but does not make a genuine attempt within a reasonable time. A reasonable time means have they been able to execute a handball or a kick before the umpire blows the whistle. In this upcoming piece of vision, the player who has got possession of the ball has had little time to actually make a correct disposal. But when they are tackled, they let the tackler put the ball to them, and with their hands free they make no effort to try and dispose of the ball. The umpire gives them reasonable time, and it's deemed to be holding the ball. Let's still consider the question about has the player had prior opportunity to dispose of the ball. If they haven't, in other words they haven't had time to kick or handball the ball, when is it called play on? Well, it's called play on if the player makes a legitimate attempt to try and dispose of the ball. So in other words, they try to handball it or they try to kick it, but the ball may fall free. Also, if the tackle causes the ball to be dislodged from the player with possession of the ball, if they've had no prior opportunity, that's also deemed to be play on. In this next piece of footage, the umpire is called play on after several tackles. In each case, the ball has either fallen free by being dislodged by the tackler, or the player being tackled has tried to dispose of the ball, and the ball has fallen free, but because there's no prior opportunity, the umpire is elected to call play on. We can see in this footage that the player in white has possession of the ball, they are correctly tackled, the ball now falls free and they're trying to dispose of it by foot. Their teammate, number 7 in white, takes possession of the ball. They've had no prior opportunity prior to the tackle occurring. In other words, they haven't had time to kick or handball the ball. They come to ground and the ball is dislodged. And that has occurred as a result of the tackle. A player now in blue picks up the ball, is tackled, and tries to dispose of the ball by foot. It's not clear if contact has been made or not, but because there's no prior opportunity and they've attempted to correctly dispose of it, it's play on. In this next piece of vision, a player takes possession of the ball after a ruck tap. They have no prior opportunity prior to the tackle to dispose of the ball by hand or by foot. The tackle causes the ball to be dislodged, in which case it's deemed to be play on. In this next piece of vision, a player is tackled as soon as they get possession of the ball. They've had no prior opportunity to dispose of it. But because they've made a legitimate attempt to handball the ball once tackled, it's deemed to be play on. There is another action that an umpire can take when considering if a player has had prior opportunity to dispose of the ball. If they think they haven't had a prior opportunity to dispose of the ball, another option is that a ball up may occur. This will occur if they believe that the player being tackled is unable to dispose of the ball as it is being held to them. In this next clip, we can see that a ball is kicked towards a marking contest. The ball comes off hands and is gathered by a player in yellow. They are tackled immediately and have had no prior opportunity to dispose of the ball. The tackle causes them to be wrapped up and they have no options to dispose of the ball. In this case, the field umpire calls for a ball up. In this next clip, a player takes possession of the ball after a ruck tap. They're tackled immediately and brought to ground and unable to dispose of the ball because they've been wrapped up at ground level. The umpire deems this to be a situation where they're unable to dispose of the ball and a ball up occurs. Another case an umpire must consider is if a player dives on top of the ball or drags it in under their body and they are correctly tackled. If this is the case, it is not relevant if they've had prior opportunity. The player being tackled must immediately knock the ball clear or correctly dispose of the ball. If they fail to do this, that will be deemed holding the ball. In this clip coming up, players are contesting the ball. The player in white falls to the ground and drags the ball in, but the player in black is also contesting the ball with their hands on the ball. They are not tackling the player. If they chose to tackle, they could be rewarded holding the ball, as the player in white has dragged the ball in at ground level. Whilst a field umpire must consider various steps before making a holding the ball decision, the basic spirit of the game is such that the player in possession of the football will be provided with an opportunity to dispose of the football before we reward an opponent for a legal tackle. We hope this information on the holding the ball law in Australian football has been useful to you, and to help us to help you, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.